Chapter 40. Midnight. Forecastle. Harpooners and sailors. Foresail rises and discovers the watch standing, lounging, leaning, and lying in various attitudes, all singing chorus. Farewell and adieu to you, Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu to you, ladies of Spain. Our captain's commanded. First Nantucket sailor. Oh, boys, don't be sentimental. It's bad for the digestion. Take a tonic, follow me. Sings and all follow. Our captain stood upon the deck, a spyglass in his hand, a-viewing these gallant whales that blew at every strand. Oh, that your tubs in your boats, my boys, and by your braces stand. We'll have one of these fine whales, hand, boys, over hand. So be cheery, my lads, may your hearts never fail, while the bold harpooner is striking the whale. Mate's voice from the quarterdeck. 8 bells there, forward. Second Nantucket sailor. Avast the chorus, 8 bells there. Do ye hear, bellboy? Strike the bell 8, thou pip, thou blackling, and let me call the watch. I've the sort of mouth for that, the hogshead mouth. So, thrusts his head down the scuttle. Starboleens ahoy! 8 bells there below, tumble up. Dutch sailor. Grand snoozing tonight, matey. Fat night for that. I mark this in our old mogul's wine. It's quite deadening to some flippin' to others. We sing, they sleep. I lie down there like ground to your butts. At 'em again. And take this copper pump and hail 'em through. Tell 'em to avast dreaming of their lasses. Tell 'em it's the resurrection. They must kiss their last and come to judgment. That's the way, that is. Thy throat ain't spoiled with eating Amsterdam butter. French sailor. Hiss, boys, let's have a jig or two before we ride to anchor in Blanket Bay. What say ye? There comes another watch. Stand by all legs. Pip, little Pip, hurrah with your tambourine. Pip, sulky and sleepy. Don't you know where it is? French sailor. Beat thy belly, then, and wag thy ears. Jig it, men. I say merry's the word. Hurrah. Damn me, won't you dance? Form now, Indian file, and gallop into the double shuffle. Throw yourselves. Legs, legs. Iceland sailor. I don't like your floy, matey. It's too springy to my taste. I'm used to ice floors. I'm sorry to throw cold water on the subject, but excuse me. Maltese sailor. Me too. Where's your girls? Who but for a fool would take his left hand by his right and say to himself, how do you do? Partners, I must have partners. Sicilian sailor. Aye, girls in green, and then I'll hop with ye. You turn grasshopper. Long Island sailor. Well, well, you sulkies, there's plenty more of us. Hoe corn while you may, say I. All legs go to the harvest soon. Ah, here comes music. Now for it. Azor sailor, ascending and pitching the tambourine up the scuttle. Here you are, Pip. Now here's a windlass bits. Up to you mount. Now, boys. The half of them dance to the tambourine. Some go below. Some sleep or lie among the coils of the rigging. Oaths of plunting. Azor sailor dancing. Got it, Pip. Bang it. Bell boy. Ring it. Ding it. Sting it. Quig it. Bell boy. Make fireflies. Bring the jigglers. Pip, jinglers, you say. There goes another. Dropped off. I pound it so. China sailor. Rattle thy teeth then and pound away. Make a pagoda of thyself. French sailor. Merry mad. Hop up thy hoop, Pip, till I jump through it. Split jibs. Tear yourself. Tashtigo. Quietly smoking. That's a white man. He calls for fun. Humph. I'll save my sweat. Old Manx sailor. I wonder where those jolly lads bethink of where they're dancing over. I'll dance over your grave, I will. That's the bitterest threat of your night women that beat the headwinds round the corners. Oh, Christ, to think of the green navies and the green-skulled crews. Well, well, belike the world's a ball, as you scholars have it, and so it's right to make one ballroom of it. Dance on, lads, you're young. I was once. Third Nantucket sailor. Spello, whew, this is worse than pulling the whales in a calm. Give us a whiff, Tash. They cease dancing and gather in clusters. Meantime, the sky darkens and the wind rises. Lascar sailor. By Brahma, boys, I'll just sail soon. The sky-born high-tide Ganges turned the wind. Thou show'st thy black brow, Siva. Maltese sailor, reclining and shaking his cap. It's the waves. The snow caps turn to jigget now. They'll shake their tassels soon. Now would that all the waves were women, then I'd go drown and chase ye with them evermore. There's not so sweet on earth, heaven may not match it, as those swift glances of warm wild bosoms in the dance, when the over-arboring arms hide such ripe bursting grapes. Sicilian sailor, reclining. Tell me not of it. Hark ye, lads, fleet interlacings of the limbs, lithe swayings, coyings, flutterings, lip, heart, hip, all graze, unceasingly touch and go, not taste. Observe ye, else come satiety. Ah, pagan, nudging. Tahitian sailor, reclining on a mat. Holy, holy nakedness of our dancing girls, the heava. Ah, low-veiled, high-palmed Tahiti, I still rest me on thy mat, but thy soft soil has slid. I saw 3 roven in the wood, my mat, green the first day I brought ye thence, now worn, wilted quite. Ah me, not that I could bear the change. How then, if so be transplanted to yon sky? I hear the roaring streams from Pyrohite's peak of spears, when they leap down the crags and drown the villages. The blast, up spine and meet it, leaps to his feet. Portuguese sailor, how the sea rolls swashing against the sides. Stand by for reefing, hearties. The winds are just crossing swords. Pell-mell they go, lunging present. Danish sailor, crack, crack, old ship, so long as thou crackst thou holdst. Well done, the mate there holds to you stiffly. He's no more afraid the Isle fort of Kattegat than to fight the Baltic with the storm-lashed guns on which the sea salt cakes. Fourth Nantucket sailor, he has his orders, mind ye that. I heard old Ahab tell him he must always kill a squall. Something as they burst a water spout with a pistol. Fire your ship right into it. English sailor, blood, but that old man's a grand old cove. We're old lads to hunt him up his whale. All, aye, aye. Old Manx sailor, how these 3 pines shake. Pines are the hardest sort of tree to live when shifted to any other soil, and here's none but the crew's cursed clay. Steady, helmsman, steady. This is the sort of weather when brave hearts snap ashore and the keeled hulls split at sea. Our captain has his birthmark. Look yon, boys, there's another in the sky, lurid-like. All else is pitch black. Daggoo, what of it? Who's afraid of black? Who's afraid of black's afraid of me. I'm quarreled out of it. Spanish sailor aside. He wants to bully. Ah, the old grudge makes me touching. Advancing. Aye, harpooner, thy race is the undeniable dark side of mankind. Devilish dark at that. No offense. Daggoo, grimly. None. St. Jago's sailor. That Spaniard's mad or drunk, but that can't be, or else his won our case. Old Dad Mogul's firewaters are somewhat long in the working. Fifth Nantucket sailor. What's that I saw? Lightning, yes? Spanish sailor. No, Daggoo showing his teeth. Daggoo springing. Swallow thine mannikin, white skin, white liver. Spanish sailor meeting him. Knife thee heartily, big frame, small spirit. All, a row, a row, a row. Row, sorry. A row, a row, a row. Teshtigo with a whiff. All row alow, and I'll row aloft. Gods and men, both brawlers. Humph. Belfast sailor. A row, a row, a row. The Virgin be blessed, a row. Plunge in with ye. English sailor. Fair play, snatch the Spaniard's knife. A ring, a ring. Old Manx sailor. Ready form, there, the ringed horizon. In that ring Cain struck Abel. Sweet work, great work, no. Why then, God, madst thou ring? Mate's voice from the quarterdeck. Hands by all halyards, topgallant sails, stand by to reef topsails. All. The squall, jump my jollies. They scatter. Pip, shrieking under the windlass. Jollies, Lord help such jollies. Crish, crash, there goes the jib stay. Blang, wang, God, duck lower, Pip. Here comes the royal yard. It's worse than being in the world woods the last day of the year. Who'd go climbing after chestnuts now? But there they go, all cursing, and here I don't. Fine prospects to 'em, but they're on the road to heaven. Hold on hard, Jiminy. What a squall, but those chaps are worst yet. They are your white squalls. They white squalls, white whales, sure, sure. I've heard it all, that chat just now. The white whale, sure, sure, but the spoke of once, only this evening. It makes me jingle all over like my tambourine. That anaconda of an old man swarmed in to hunt it. Oh, thou big white god aloft there somewhere in yon darkness, have mercy on this small black boy down here. Preserve him from all men that have no bowels to feel fear. This is the end of chapter 40. So we have a whole bunch of sailors who are on the forecastle, which is forecastle, front of the ship. It's raised part on the front of the ship. And they're kind of on watch, kind of still a little drunk from the night before, because, you know, from the experiences just before at sunset where, you know, Ahab passed the rum around. And they're singing, yeah, probably better than I did, because they know the tunes and I don't. And they're sailors from all over. 4 from Nantucket, one Dutch, Holland or the Netherlands, French, Iceland, Maltese. Malta is in the Mediterranean Sea. Sicily is part of Italy. It's island off the toe of the boot. Long Island is New York. Azore is in the Caribbean. China is China. Manx. Manx refers to the Isle of Man, which is one of the isles of Great Britain. So you have Britain, you have Ireland, you have Manx in the middle. And it's one of the smaller ones. So another Nantucket sailor. Lascar, he's from India. Tahitian. Tahiti is in the South Pacific. Portugal is right next to Spain. It's on the Atlantic coast of Europe. Danish is from Denmark, which is a jut of land going north off of Germany towards Norway and Sweden. So Denmark is part of Scandinavia, though it's attached to the other part of Europe. It's not part of the Scandinavian peninsula, but it's still considered Scandinavia. Where else were people from? You had Dagu, who was from Africa, and the Spanish sailor was getting racist with him. And there's a whole big history of bad blood there between Africa and Spain, because in the 8th century, give or take, Africa invaded Spain as part of the Arabic expansion. So when you had Muhammad found Islam, he spread Islam with fire and the sword. That's the way it was expressed. It was spread with fire and the sword. And so they conquered all of North Africa. They started conquering up, and they were stopped by the Ottoman Empire, or they were stopped by the Byzantine Empire. So that's the Eastern Roman Empire. So the Eastern Roman Empire, what was left of Rome, managed to stop the Arabic expansion in Turkey. But they expanded across North Africa and up into Europe, and they started conquering Spain and Portugal. And so they spent, 400 years conquering it, 400 years being forced out. So there's a lot of animosity there. If you're to take a look at it, it's like Ferdinand and Isabella, the last thing they did or one of the first things that they did was they finally managed to get all of Spain retaken. So that was late 1400s. So yeah, this is 400 years later, but still, there's some memory there. So you have the Spanish sailor getting racist against Dagu, even though Dagu probably wasn't Muslim, probably wasn't at all related to the people who invaded Spain. He was just this random black person from Africa. He starts, the Spanish sailor starts getting racist against him unnecessarily. And I mean, honestly, rather stupidly. Do you really want to pick a fight with someone who's like bigger and stronger and more important to the crew? So here we have Spanish sailor. And then you have one of the 3 harpooners who are just they eat at the captain's table. Well, let's just put it that way. They eat at the captain's table. If Dagu went overboard, everyone would know, everyone would care, and everyone would be upset. Because, all of a sudden the trip is going to take quite a bit longer because they only have 2 harpooners instead of 3. If random Spanish sailor falls overboard, well, that's a little bit more work. That's okay. That's a little bit more pay. So, no, 5 Nantucket. Let's see. I'm not sure where St. Jago is. And then you have Little Pip. Now, Little Pip was described as a little black boy earlier on in the book. And his function is the cabin boy. So, not quite a steward. His job is little menial tasks. He probably helps out in the kitchen. He probably is very useful for running light ropes up into tight spaces and things like that. Where, okay, they need somebody to go back into a tiny cramped space. Well, Pip, that's your job. You're the little guy, so you go do the little guy stuff. Plus, he was also sort of like on board for entertainment in somewhat. He played the tambourine, he sang, he danced. He probably didn't get paid very much. He may have only gotten a coin or 2 over his room and board. But, that's better than starving in Nantucket. That's better than starving in Africa. That's better than starving in wherever Pip came from. So, here he is. He has his job on the boat. And yeah, he plays a fool somewhat, and he sings and he dances and he does the grunt work, but at a time, a job's a job. So now here they are, and it's getting on midnight. So midnight is always known as the time when strange things happen. So strange things happen in the middle of the night, and it's canonically midnight, though. In my experience, the weirder things start happening around 2 or 3, because at midnight you still have normal people up. But 2 or 3 is when things start really getting weird. But anyway, so midnight is like the witching hour. And you have the Spaniard fighting with Dagu, getting ready to fight with Dagu, and everyone's like, yeah, fight, fight, fight. A row is a fight. So fight, fight. Everyone's screaming, fight, fight, fight. And all of a sudden, one of the mates, doesn't say which one, calls from the quarterdeck, hands by the halyards, topgallant sails, reef the top sails. So there is a squall coming, and they notice squalls coming because they mention it, and they're getting ready to fight anyway. Now, one thing that happens to a lot of people that they may not realize it, that it's happening, is that they can sort of sense that the weather's changing. So when a storm's coming up, the air gets ionized, the pressure changes, and everyone just gets a little squirrely. Well, so this was happening. So, the storm was coming up, and deep down viscerally, the body knows that the storm is coming. So they get antsy and they start fighting. And then whoever it is, Stubb, Flask, Starbuck, calls from the quarterdeck, hey guys, gotta take down the sails. And you gotta start taking down sail before a storm, because when the wind grabs the sail, it pulls it. And so when the wind's in the sail, it is much, much harder to take down. And if it becomes too hard to take down the sail will take down the mast. And that's no good. So perhaps the mate saw the trouble coming on the deck. Perhaps he saw it coming on the waves and the wind. But there's like, okay, get the sails down, or at least get the top sails down. Because you can take the sails down in stages, because that's the beauty of you have different levels of sails. So you take down the top sails, you tie those down. You can still go with the main ones. Oh, the wind's getting too big. You pull those down too and tie them off. So the mate's calling, okay, everyone get the sails down. And Pip is like, okay, this is bad things happening. And these people do not care that they are going to die. So Pip is starting to catch on that things aren't entirely well with the crew. So we have a few people who are beginning to catch on that things aren't going well, though they're not entirely sure why.